What's up guys, Nathan here, and today I want to give you a simple trick to beat loose and crazy players. Nobody seems to be talking about this these days, but I'm going to break it all down for you with a step-by-step example hand showing you how to use this strategy. Let's jump into it. Alright guys, so we've all seen these loose, crazy maniacs at the poker table. They might have you ripping your hair out. You never know what hand they're playing. You can't put them on anything. They're always trying to bluff you. They're crazy, they're wild, they're unpredictable. Let's talk about how to beat these players right now. So the biggest thing you guys need to know is that you want to use their aggression against them. Now I'm going to define these players in this video by the acronym LAG, which stands for loose and aggressive, aka lag. This is one of the 5 main poker player types that I identify in all of my videos here on YouTube. By the way, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss my new ones. But guys, the bottom line is you do not beat these players by fighting fire with fire. This is where a lot of people go wrong. This is where most people go wrong, is when the lag starts bluffing you, starts re-raising you, is they start doing the same thing. They start making crazy bluffs. They start re-raising them. And guys, you're just playing right into their game. So I'm going to give you a different way to beat these players in this video, and that is by once again using their maniacal aggression against them in the right situations. And that's really the key, and that's why I'm going to walk you through an example step by step right now. Alright guys, so here is an example hand versus a lag. You've all been in this position before, I am sure. You raise with queen jack offsuit, queen of clubs, jack of diamonds from the button. Standard blind steal situation, as bare bones as it gets, whether you play cash games or tournaments. We've all been here a million times, and lo and behold, there is one of these lag, loose and crazy players in the big blind with a 15% 3-bet. Now if you guys don't know what that means, it's a HUD stat. If you play online poker, you can just use a program like Poker Tracker. I'll include links for that in the description below. I've used it for over 10 years as a professional, and you can literally put this on your screen, and it basically tells you that 15% of the time pre-flop they are going to re-raise you. Now 15% is definitely on the crazy side, but that is not surprising, of course, because that's what we're talking about in this video, is players that trend towards the more maniacal crazy side. So in this situation, I would often be folding versus a lot of other poker player types, specifically the rock and the nit, but versus a lag, especially when we're in position here, and that is vitally important. Hope you guys know the positions at the poker table. If you don't, by the way, I would suggest just reading my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. There's charts showing you all the positions at the poker table, who acts first and last, what hands to play, and so on, if you don't know the basics like that. But basically in position here, meaning we're going to be acting last on the flop, turn, and river, I will often be making the call here versus this specific poker player type, the lag. So the flop comes down with a jack of hearts, 8 of spades, and 4 of diamonds. Lag bets 50% of the pot, so the pot, for example, is $50. Lag bets $25. What should you do? Well guys, this is a pretty simple spot here. You should just be calling. We're going to talk about the turn and the river, by the way, in a second here. But the reason you want to just be calling in this situation is because what we know about these players is that they are loose, they're aggressive, they're going to re-raise us. Again, we already talked about with a whole host of hands pre-flop. Many of those hands did not hit this flop. There's not a lot of draws on this flop. 9-10 is an open-ended straight draw. There are some other jacks out there. There's ace jack, king jack, which are ahead of us. But beyond that, we very likely have the best hand. There's no flush draws out there, so there's not a whole lot for us to be fearful of on this board. Remember guys, this is the kind of player who's going to have a very wide range. They're going to be in here with all sorts of hands that we're ahead of where they're just simply bluffing right now. So that is why we don't want to raise in this situation here, because if this player is bluffing with a hand like pocket sixes or king 10, for example, we don't want to raise here because we're just going to force those hands to fold. But of course, we don't want to fold here either because we have top pair with a good kicker, and once again, we are very likely far ahead of this player's range. I've discussed this in many videos here on the channel before. When you're in one of these situations like this where a raise doesn't make much sense, a fold doesn't make any sense either, call is almost always going to be the best option. So that is exactly what we do. Let's move on to the turn now, and let's talk about making the big call and using the the aggression of the leg against them. So turn comes down with the proverbial brick, the 3 of hearts. Leg bets their 50% of the pot. Once again, what should you do? You should simply call again here. There's a couple things here. Number one, the 3 of hearts does not change the board at all. It does not complete any draws whatsoever. A 7 or a queen would be a little bit more threatening of a card because that would complete the 9-10 straight draw on the flop that we talked about before. And also it's not an ace, it's not a king, it's not a queen. And also a 3 is a low card. It's very unlikely that this person was re-raising us pre-flop with a hand that has a 3 in it. So we certainly want to be making the call here again. But once again, for the same reasons as the flop, we don't want to be raising here, guys, because we're only going to get action from a better hand when we raise here. Once again, if this player is on the bluff, we just want to give them that rope to continue bluffing. We don't want to give them a reason to fold at this point, but we also don't want to fold ourselves because we're very likely still far ahead of this player's overall range. Now, the interesting part of this hand comes on the river. River comes down with a king of spades, and the leg empties the clip here. They go for the triple barrel, and importantly, they bet 75% of the pot in this situation. For example, the pot's $200 on the river. They bet 150. So this gives us a much more difficult decision. It's expensive for us. I've made a lot of videos here on the channel, guys, before. By the way, if you're interested in how to play this lag poker style, because this is actually the style of play that I play myself and also teach in everything I put out in my new Elite Poker Training University and all of my poker books and everything like that. I teach how to play this poker style because it puts people in difficult spots. And I also have talked about many times, including on videos on the channel here, that this king of spades is literally the perfect scare card on the river to empty the clip here, make a triple barrel bluff in this situation. Yes, guys, we should be making the big call in this situation. This is how you beat wild and loose crazy players, because we can predict that if this player is a sophisticated, intelligent poker player at least, that they're going to understand that this king is the perfect scare card because it puts tremendous pressure on a hand precisely like the one that we have, top pair, which is now second pair, of course, on the river. And we know that this player can credibly represent a hand like ace king. But once again, guys, this is not a tight player. This is a loose and aggressive player. So we know that wild, crazy players like this are fully capable of emptying the clip with a draw like 9-10, with a complete bluff like pocket sixes for something to do. So even though, guys, you're going to make the call here sometimes and you're going to have egg all over your face because they're going to flip over the king queen, sometimes they are going to get lucky. We need to understand their entire range in a situation like this. Guys, I would never be making the big call here against a tight and aggressive or a tight and passive player, as I've talked about many times before in these videos as well, because that is a totally different player type that is very likely to have a strong hand here, such as a better top pair, 2 pair, a set, something that is way ahead of us. But versus this specific player type, guys, the best way to beat these players is to make large multi-street call downs. And once again, I have dozens of in-depth examples in my new Elite Poker Training University. You can enroll right now. There'll be links to enroll in the description below. But guys, I hope that this gave you a small sort of synopsis of how I approach playing against these wild and crazy players. If you're having trouble against these players right now, guys, it's not to fight fire with fire. Don't start re-raise, bluffing them, and so on, because you're just playing right into their game. Learn how to use their aggression against them. When you have a hand like top pair like this, you need to be prepared to make large multi-street call downs. Don't be afraid to be a calling station against these kind of players, guys. It's the best way to beat them. Let me know in the comments below how you approach these player types. How do you play against wild and crazy players? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and also like and subscribe if you found this one helpful. And once again, I will leave a copy of my free poker cheat sheet in the description below. That'll give you my entire strategy to smash all 5 major poker player types. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope this one helped. I will catch you next time. This has been Nathan Williams with blackcurrant79.com.